Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the April 23rd, 2026 Public Works Committee meeting. Today I have Councilmember Swarthout, myself. I don't see Councilmember Sullivan. So we have a quorum. So let's get started. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Not from staff.
All right, hearing no changes, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the February 19th, 2026 or in March 5th, 2026 Public Works Committee meeting?
So moved.
And I second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So let's move on to the first item on our agenda, which is the 2026 National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, NPDES, permit update. Water Resources and Sustainability Department, bring it on.
All right. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Let me pull up the presentation here and share my screen. Let's see. How is that? Okay. So good morning. So I'm going to try to cram a lot of information in a short amount of time. So apologies, and please stop at me if you have questions, and we can discuss them as we go through the presentation. So the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System annual report is essentially let me see if I can advance this slide. Is administered through the Department of Ecology through the Clean Water Act. And it essentially allows the city to discharge our stormwater into waters of the state. We have to meet several different pieces of criteria to discharge. And so I'm going to go through some of those pieces today. The permit regulates discharges through the most highly populated areas in the state. So that includes mainly the Puget Sound, but also now it's starting to include areas to the south along the Columbia River, as well as Eastern Washington. Our current permit is effective from August 1st, 2024 through July 31st, 2029. And these permits run on a 5-year cycle. So a quick overview. There's a lot of pieces to the permit that we have to comply with as a city. This is a citywide permit, so there's pieces that are that affect other departments, and I'll get into that on the next slide. But some of the requirements we have involve stormwater planning, so that includes some of our tree canopy goals, site planning and review, and our stormwater management action plan. And I can get into that in a later slide as well. We also have public education and outreach requirements that include general awareness, behavior change, and stewardship opportunities. We have public involvement and participation. So that's exactly what we're doing right now in our council meeting is allowing the public to participate in this process. But we're also included in advisory committees and different boards throughout the region. Mapping and documentation is a big requirement for us, and our team in the GIS department, Jen Radcliffe and Georgie Hupp, are instrumental in helping us meet this requirement. And we use various tools from ArcGIS to help us meet our survey and inspection requirements. Illicit discharge detection and elimination, that's essentially our spill response program. And we also do some outfall screening. So we're looking for pollutants actively in our stormwater system. And that also allows us to do some enforcement if needed. Controlling runoff from construction activities, that essentially lays out our inspection programs. We do a lot of inspections on construction sites, private development, public facilities and whatnot. So that covers our inspections. Stormwater management for existing development. Now, this is a new permit requirement, and I'll dive into this one a little bit deeper later on. But this is a new one for us, and we're set up nicely to meet this requirement. I'll get into that later. The source control for existing development. This is essentially our business pollution program. So we're actively out at businesses that have a nexus to our MS4 or our stormwater system. And we're looking for business activities that could generate pollutants that could affect our stormwater system. Operations and maintenance. We've got some good metrics to share with you today about our operations and maintenance and the team that we have doing that work. Monitoring and assessment. So that's a requirement that looks at status and trends for our stormwater treatment and flow control effectiveness. And we contribute to a fund that the state manages to fund some of these studies. And we also have TMDL compliance pieces in our stormwater permit that include the Deschutes River temperature reduction and the Butt Inlet nutrient reductions. And I'll get into each one of these pieces in a little bit more detail as we go. So with all these requirements, we have to coordinate throughout the city. Again, this is a citywide permit, and so it touches virtually every single department that we have in the city. So we have weekly meetings internally with our inspectors. We have our code enforcement meetings with community development, operations, and us. We do IDDE trainings annually, so spill response trainings for citywide staff.
David,
Yes.
can you tell me what IDDA is?
Yes, IDDE is illicit discharge detection and elimination. So that's essentially spill response, and then we're actively looking for pollutants in our stormwater system before they discharge to the waters of the state. So it's a program that we have to maintain to respond to spills mainly. Good question. There's a lot of acronyms too in stormwater world, so I apologize. We love our acronyms, but yeah, I can explain some of those as we go along too. Here's another one, the SWIP, the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. We're required to have a stormwater pollution prevention plan for every facility that has equipment or chemicals. So that includes the operations and maintenance yard, the Tumwater Valley Golf Course, and the Parks Department building. So we do annual inspections there. We have project meetings at the staff level, so between TED and WRS. So we're talking about projects and trends and inspection results on a monthly, bi-monthly basis. And our management team also has meetings every other week between operations and TED and water resources to talk about projects and how to move things forward. Stormwater crew coordination meetings we have on a monthly basis, and we talk about things to help them do their job better and help them to identify areas where they might need some support. And then we have, as needed, we meet with our GIS team for survey tool and inspection tool development. So we do a lot of coordinating throughout the city to meet all of our requirements.
So Dave, I did have a question. It's probably going down a different rabbit hole, but the recent spill that was at DOC, does that have anything
Yes.
to do with your team as far as, because that didn't go down stormwater, right? It went
Right.
into our sewer system. Is that correct?
Right. So as part of our requirements for that, we are required to respond to investigate immediately, essentially. So I went out when we got the call. I met with Steve Craig on site as well. We did determine that it did not influence the stormwater system and it did affect the sewer system. So that changed the game a little bit for us. And so we essentially just we followed through with our wastewater plan and followed the protocols set out in that. And we were working with the Department of Corrections to make sure that they've got everything cleaned up. They hired a contractor immediately, and we did a follow-up inspection yesterday, laid out some criteria that they need to adhere to so that doesn't happen again. But you're correct, it didn't affect our stormwater system, and we discovered that through the investigation immediately after the discharge. So yeah, good question. So getting into some of those pieces I talked about earlier, the education and outreach piece, we do a lot of this throughout the city and the region. And a lot of that's through our STREAM team, which is sponsored by REAP, our Regional Environmental Education Partnership. And that's with Olympia, Lacey, Thurston County, and ourselves. We participate in South Sound Green, the RIA 13 lead entity. We do a lot of work with the school district, and then our events like Falls Fest, Dog Days, and such. And then we're invited to a lot of guest speaking events too at various colleges and organizations throughout the region. And we also offer general awareness through technical assistance during our inspection process. Another piece of the education and outreach is behavior change campaign. And this permit cycle, we've decided to do a natural yard care habitat at home program. We're partnering with Fish and Wildlife in Thurston County to provide workshops. And we're trying to reduce pesticide and fertilizer use in residential areas and settings. So far, that's been pretty good. We've had a couple of workshops already with pretty good success and
David.
participation rates. Yes.
David, so where is this captured at for the workshops? Because I don't know anything about it.
We're just starting to roll these out. And so you can go to the Stream Team website, and I think they have a link there. If you'd like, I can send you a link and we can get you connected with that program.
Right. So we can share it maybe with our communications manager so he can share it, on our social media so more people can know about it.
Mhm.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
With spring coming up, people thinking about their yards and everything.
Yeah. No, it's a good program for that. So it's and it's timely. You're right.
Right. Because I've started killing the dandelions with pesticides.
There's other methods. Yeah. They'll teach you how to work with your environment and nature to help reduce the need for that. So
thank you.
Another piece for our education and outreach is our stewardship opportunities, and Grant Gilmore does a great job of offering a bunch of opportunities for the community to participate in through our second Saturday events at Sap Road Park, doing restoration work there. We've done some pop-up events at the Palermo Wetland down by our well field. BIBI sampling, that's our stream bug monitoring program, and we're gearing up to do that right now. We also have salmon stewards training. People can participate in the return of the salmon at Deschutes River. And we also have amphibian egg mass surveys, which we just wrapped up for the year. So plenty of opportunities for folks to get engaged. Mapping, again, Jen and Georgie are instrumental in meeting these requirements for us, and they do a lot of work for us, and couldn't meet this requirement without them. So a lot of the stuff that they do is just to maintain the mapping features that we currently have when it comes to treatment and flow control facilities, our piping systems, and whatnot. And then they also are involved with our folks, Alyssa's folks, doing the tree canopy survey. Brian and Nemo are out doing that work right now as we speak to map our tree canopy. And again, this is the illicit discharge detection and elimination system that we have, and it's designed to prohibit, prevent, and detect pollutants that are entering our stormwater system or have the potential to enter our stormwater system. Part of that is to do a dry weather outfall screening, and so we go out in the summertime and we look at our outfalls and to see if they're flowing. The thought is that if we're looking at them during the dry weather when there's no rain coming and we see a flow coming out of the system, there's probably something going on that shouldn't be going on. And so we source trace that upstream and find out why that's being, what the discharge is coming from, and if there's some intervention that we need to take. We're required to do 12% of that annually, and last year we did almost 15%, so above the minimum requirement. We also do trainings for the staff to recognize IDDEs and how to report them. We also have a new permit requirement this year to coordinate with our fire departments to address PFAS containing AFFF, which is aqueous firefighting foams. And so our fire department is required to have this since they're a first responder to the airport. And so Ecology wants to make sure that we are regulating that in a responsible manner.
David,
Yep.
typically, like, where are the outfalls? Because I know they have maps here, but typically, where are they located? I mean, I know, like, in my, like, a cul-de-sac, they're the ones from the streets, but where are the main ones? I mean, and then, so first I'll answer that question. I was just curious where they are. What you
Yeah.
considered, which are the ones you monitor, and where are the big ones?
So we typically take a section of like this year we're going to be doing a section of the Deschutes River. So we'll do from the southernmost point of the city limits to probably about Henderson Boulevard, and
Mhm.
we'll look throughout that area to see if there's any additional outfalls. But essentially, it's getting in waders and marching up and down the streams and trying to
Mhm.
locate the pipes that are entering the system that way.
Yeah.
We do know of most of them. We do find a few new ones every year.
Wow.
But typically those are on the riverbeds.
Okay.
That's what's typical. There are some that are in wetlands and whatnot too, but those are a little bit harder to find. Sometimes they are buried in blackberry bushes, and we've got to hack and whack our way to them and find them. So it's kind of a challenge, but it's kind of a fun ordeal that we do every summer.
So those are considered the outfalls, and then the things that are in our neighborhood are just the what are those considered? The ones that are like in our neighborhoods on our calls on
On,
our
on the
roads, or
on the streets,
yeah,
yeah, those are catch basins.
just catch basins. Okay.
Yeah, and so that's the I'll get into some numbers on
Okay.
catch basin cleaning and stuff like that when we get into
Okay.
operation and maintenance.
Got it.
But yeah,
Yeah,
that's
well,
kind of the first line of defense for treatment is a catch basin.
okay. So the catch basins first, and then the outfalls are the ones that
Hmm.
go directly into the river. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, the outfall, I guess, is the end of the pipe, so to speak. And so
Okay.
you have this network of pipes that connect catch basins, and then they lead to an outfall at the end of the
Okay.
pipe.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Yep. Um, so yeah, we responded to 17 IDDEs, qualifying IDDEs in 2025. I think that's kind of round out that slide there. Um, so runoff control from construction sites. Again, this is our inspection program, where we are out inspecting. So we inspect for stormwater features on construction sites on a monthly basis on all construction sites, public and private. So last year we did 76 site plans, and we visited 88 different construction sites. Compare that to 2024 when we only had 28. So last year was a fairly busy year. We did issue one notice of violation for a turbid discharge, so sediment-laden discharge on Black Lake Boulevard. We're currently working with the property owner to correct that. They've hired an engineer to design some stormwater treatment facilities to prevent that from happening in the future. So it's looking like it's going to be a good outcome there. Okay, so stormwater management for existing development. This is the new one that I wanted to talk about a little bit, and I got a few slides to try to describe this. So ecology has recognized that a lot of infrastructure out there is starting to age. And it's not up to today's standards. So this permit requirement is an attempt to encourage jurisdictions to improve some of those treatment facilities and get them up to today's standards. And so we fall into that group. There's a lot of old infrastructure in Tumwater that needs to be improved, and so we've got a few things in the pipeline to help achieve that. So the way they score this is essentially on a point basis, and they score it by, it's called equivalent acres, 4.2 equivalent acres. And that's based on the population. So a larger population base is going to have more equivalent acres assigned to it, and a smaller one's less. We're on the smaller side, so 4.2 is on the smaller side of the equivalent acres assigned. And the way you meet this is, again, these stormwater facility retrofits, so bringing things up to speed to today's standards. You can also implement land management and development strategies. SMAP, so that's the Stormwater Management Action Plan that we have in place in the Trosper Lake Subbasin, so a smaller area of the city, where we can do enhanced screening. We can do operations and maintenance, source control, education and outreach on an enhanced level, so to meet some of those requirements. You can also meet them by doing maintenance on projects that exceed $25,000. So we have several of those as well that we have in the pipeline. You can acquire property. You can do restoration activities and projects. You can do floodplain reconnection, impervious surface removal, and sweeping and line cleaning. Now, each of these has a different point system assigned to it, so it makes it a little bit complicated when we're trying to meet these requirements. But just to give you a couple of examples of how we are going to be meeting these requirements is here. And so currently we have a Beehive stormwater retrofit project that I'm working on with Fuller Designs. And we're approaching the 90% design phase on this. That's going to give us 51.64 equivalent acres. So quite a bit more than the requirement. And that's essentially the acres that we're going to be treating in that area. We're also going to be getting some equivalent acreage from the Sap Road Park restoration events that Grant is doing out there on the second Saturday restoration. And also the Pioneer Park Bank Stabilization Project, we're going to get a little bit of acreage from that. So all said and done, we're going to be at 53.02. And remember, our requirement is 4.2. So we're blowing it out of the water for our requirement, which is great. The good thing about this is we can achieve half of our goal for our next permit cycle. So if we're assigned 4.2 acres for next permit cycle, we can use half of this permit cycles for the next permit cycle. And so this is setting us up for essentially the next 10 years to meet this requirement.
Dave, how do we fund this?
The Beehive project I'm working right now is a ecology funded ecology grant that we're working with. And for the construction phase of that project, I'm also going to be looking for ecology money to help us out. Sap Road Park, that's just a lot of sweat equity and volunteer. And the Pioneer Park stabilization project, I believe that's an ecology project, a funded project as well.
So when you talk about like the outfalls going directly into the river, would that be something that would ever be addressed where you put like catch basins? Because you know it's exactly going in. Would that ever be something that we would look at, like being that intentional?
Yeah, so those projects fit right in with this. You know, we've got the Beehive project, which is going to address that. There's other projects in the pipeline that, such as the Tumwater Valley Regional Stormwater Facility that we want to design and build eventually. That's going to be a qualifying project as well.
Okay.
So yeah, we've got a lot of projects in the pipeline to meet this requirement.
Okay. Thank you.
So source control for existing development. Again, this is our business inspection program. And so we're actively out there looking at businesses and meeting with them and assessing their business practices to see if they have the potential to discharge pollutants to our stormwater system. It's education and outreach focused at this time. This is a fairly new permit requirement as well. We have about 500 businesses within the city, but only 65 actually qualify for inspection for this. And the qualifications are they have the potential to generate pollutants, and there is a nexus to our stormwater system. So most businesses out there actually discharge to the ground. They don't connect to our stormwater system, and so they don't qualify for this type of requirement. So we're required to do 20% annually. And last year we did 20 inspections at 15 different locations. So we're definitely meeting our requirement here. This one is a great program to partner with Thurston County's Pollution Prevention Assistance Program, where they can hand out items that might help them meet this requirement, such as spill kits and spill response plans and things like that. Since we do have such a small inventory of our businesses that qualify for this program, we're expanding this program to actually include our wellhead protection areas. So that's something new that we're going to be doing. So that's going to be a good addition. Operations and maintenance. So last year was a great year for operations and maintenance. Some of the accomplishments we had is we maintained 52 facilities out of the 92 known facilities that we have. So that includes the ponds, swales, infiltration vaults, things like that. And Councilmember Swarthout, this is what you're talking about, the catch basins. We inspected over 1,500 catch basins, almost 1,600 catch basins out of the nearly 4,000 catch basins that we have. Out of those, 672 were cleaned or repaired. And through that and our street sweeping activities, 775 tons of material was removed from the streets before it entered our stormwater system. So that's great. And then we have several projects that exceed the $25,000 threshold as well that we're working through right now.
David, I have a question for it.
Sure.
For that 1592 out of 3,778. So are you required to hit a certain amount a quarter, a certain amount a year?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're required to inspect all of our catch basins within 2 years, every 2 years, and so that's essentially 50% a year is our target. And so that's a tall ask for our operations and maintenance team. We've built a survey or an app for them to use to make this a streamlined effort. And we actually have a dashboard that we have displayed that shows them exactly what needs to be cleaned, what needs to be repaired, and where those are at. So the tools that our GIS team has developed has really helped us achieve this goal. And we've seen the numbers since we've developed that tool. We've seen our numbers really skyrocket as far as number of inspections and cleanings that we've done. So great job by everybody on meeting that requirement.
Seems like it's just an ongoing, like everyday routine thing. Huh?
They're probably out doing it right now.
All
So yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. And then the TMDLs, the total maximum daily loads. So we have two that we're required to meet through our stormwater permit. The first one is the Deschutes watershed temperature reduction. So we're required to implement some sort of actions to try to reduce temperatures in the Deschutes River. So we're actively doing that through the Pioneer Park Restoration Project. We're going to be doing some bank armoring and planting. There's some planting plans that we've got teed up for the Tumwater Valley Golf Course as part of their Salmon Safe certification. We finished a Serendipity fence removal project. So Serendipity is a daycare center down by Tumwater Valley Athletic Club. There was an old dilapidated fence that we removed from the stream bed and revegetated that. So it's going to get some shade now. And we've also done a couple of pop-up events at the Palermo wetlands down by our well fields down there where we planted trees and stuff along the wetland edges. We've also got the Bud Inlet nutrient reduction projects that we're supposed to be meeting as well. And again, I go back to that 775 tons of material that we've removed. Those are all that material contains nutrients, and so we can point to that and say we've removed a lot of nutrients from the system just through our street sweeping and catch basin cleaning. Again, that beehive project that I talked about, we're approaching 90% design completion, so that's going to also reduce nutrients. And we're also working on a nutrient reduction enhanced maintenance plan, which is about 50% complete. We're working with Herrera on that, and that's essentially going to give us kind of a roadmap for ways that we can get creative with our operations and maintenance teams to further reduce nutrients. That's either going to be through enhanced street sweeping in strategic locations, or it could be some education and outreach in strategic areas as well, to like the Habitat at Home behavior change campaign that we're going to be doing as well, to reduce fertilizers and pesticides that go into the stormwater system. So all those programs help us meet this goal through the nutrient enhanced maintenance plan. And then we've also purchased a deep chine aerator for the Tumwater Valley Golf Course, and that essentially is the idea there is to aerate the turf down there to allow water to get into the turf and the soil rather than sheet flowing off into the surface waters. So that allows the nutrients to be absorbed into the plants and the turf rather than going straight into the water. So looking ahead, there's some big, tall tasks ahead of us for 2027. And some of those include the annual expenditures for the stormwater program and our TMDL program are going to be needing to get to Department of Ecology. So they want to open the books and see where we're spending our money. They're going to want a capital projects list. There's going to be a new SMAP requirement. So that's the Stormwater Management Action Plan. When we created our first one for the Trosper Lake Subbasin, we actually created 2 more. So we're well set up for this one as well. We've already got 2 of them done that we can turn in. Um, we're going to have to refine the methods for identifying overburdened communities. So that's a new one as well. We currently have an equity index tool that we use. It could use some refinement, but we do have something in the works there. Again, tree canopy mapping, that's an ongoing one that Alyssa and her group is working on. The stormwater system tributary basin assessment, we're going to be looking deeper into our larger stormwater system tributary areas and making sure that there's treatment and there's source control and things like that going on. So that's going to be like our Tumwater Valley Regional Stormwater Facility, things like that. A big one that we're going to be doing. So this is the Drainage Design and Erosion Control Manual update. So that's essentially the standards set out by Department of Ecology that our engineers use to design facilities and whatnot. So that's about a 1,100-page document that we're going to need to be updating. And then any ordinance associated with that. We're going to be updating our stormwater pollution prevention plans at all of our facilities. So the operations and maintenance yard, the Tumwater Valley Golf Course, as well as the parks buildings. And we're going to be tracking our street sweeping program a little bit closer. So knowing exactly where the street sweepers are, trying to prioritize those street sweeping routes so they're making the most progress when it comes to nutrient and pollution removal. So that's it. My goodness, a lot of information. So thanks for hanging in there with me. So if there's any further questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yes, I see you are going to be quite busy, David.
Yes.
Thank you and your team for your work efforts and just behind the scenes. I like to call you guys the quiet warriors, just doing your thing.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. Excellent briefing and update.
Yeah. And thank you for council's continued support for our stormwater program.
Any other questions? Councilmember Swarthout?
No, I appreciate knowing what's going into the water, trying to keep that. It's amazing that that trying to keep it before it enters into the sound, that we don't try to filter all that before it goes directly into the sound. So yes, whatever we can do, because
Yeah.
Yes.
because not everything goes into a lot, right? Because
Right.
there's a lot that doesn't go to a lot. So
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And we try to keep tabs on it the best we can through those
Mhm.
various tools and programs that we have running. So
Yes. And my final caveat is, like I said, just we have a huge social media presence now. So people might not want to go to the website for Stream Team. So if you can just hand out those nuggets of information for them so we can have some more presence and education that way.
sure.
I think that
Absolutely. I
would
think
be
it's a great idea.
I think that would be great, David. With that said, there is no recommended action. This
Correct.
was informational only. So let's move on to number 2 on our agenda, acceptance of Barnes Lake Management District budget and work plan. Again, water resources. Is that going to be you, David?
It sure is.
All right, bring it up.
Let's see. Fortunately, I got a few pictures with this one. That last one was a little bit dry with no pictures. So so we'll get
we
you
like
going
pictures,
here.
Dave. Come on.
Yeah, I do too. So okay. So the Barnes Lake Management District update for 2026. I'm just going to jump right into it. Let's see here. Hold on a minute. Let me share the screen. Okay, we should be good to go now. Yeah, I'll just jump right into it. So every year we develop a work plan and a budget for the Barnes Lake Management District, and this is slides to talk a little bit about that. Okay, there we go. So our work plan, it's fairly busy. Consists of this time of year consists of a lot of administrative tasks. So we're submitting our 2026 annual work plan and operating budget. reviewing our steering committee appointments. We just issued a newsletter with our annual assessments, and that also went out through social media. And then we look at our volunteer monitoring program and review our standard operating procedures for that. And then throughout the year, as the year progresses, we gear up for treatment. And so we make sure that our contractor has all the resources they need to do treatments for the year. And then we are actively doing water quality monitoring essentially from May to October as water conditions allow. This year, we're also going to be doing an IVAMP, so an Integrated Aquatic Vegetation Management Plan. So we're going to be issuing an RFQ for that and hiring on a consultant to help us update that document. Every fall, we do a walkabout. So that's an opportunity for folks to see the lake from different viewpoints and different properties. So that's always a good opportunity to engage different folks about their needs and wants for the lake. And then we round out the year by looking at the next year. So the budget draft for 2027, looking at available seats in the steering committee, and then essentially developing our next year's work plan. So just to kind of give you some updates on some of these tasks. This year we've brought on a new steering committee member, Troy Patience. He is with the Barnes Lake condominiums. So that is our final, I think that was our final vacancy for the steering committee. So that makes us a full team now. Like I said earlier, we just issued the newsletter along with our assessments and through our social media platforms as well. And we're gearing up to do our water quality monitoring. This is an interesting graph. So this is one of our Hobo data loggers that we have in the lake, and it takes a measurement every 6 hours, and it takes water temperature and lake levels. And so what I've done with this graph here is you can see this flexible leveler, this green line. This is where we have that Beaver device set at. So that's the level it's set at. So when we do get heavy rain events, it shouldn't exceed this level by too much. And you can see some of these rain events were major rain events and exceeded that barely a little bit. But that bottom graph with the bar graph, that's actually rainfall data on a daily basis. So you can see how the lake level reacts to heavy rain events. So it's kind of interesting. Kind of gives us a good gauge on the lake and if we can anticipate flooding and whatnot. And you can see last year was a very dry year. Lake levels got extremely low. And so that was historically low compared to some of the years past. So kind of some cool tools we're using out there to capture that data. May through September, we do our annual treatments. And so we've got Aquatechnics as our contractor under contract for the remainder of this year. It's going to be a routine treatment year. So they're going to be using Diquat and Amazamox to target the invasive white water lily and the nuisance water shield lily. And you can see the white water lily in this photograph is the large leaf. And then the water shield is the smaller leaf lily. So these are two target our target vegetation. Also is we include bladderwort in that, and that's a submerged weed that we also treat for. We're going to be, like I said, we're going to be updating our integrated aquatic vegetation management plan, the IVAMP, and this is usually updated every 10 years. And so you can see this last one was done in 2016, and so we're due for that. And this is essentially our guiding document for the LMD that helps us manage the lake for certain goals and whatnot that the LMD has. Our walkabout that we do every year. So this is a great opportunity. These are photos from last year. It was a beautiful day, and it was great to see some different angles of the lake. You can see from that bottom photo, it was the lake levels did get extremely low. So that was kind of a unique year for us on that, and it was good to see who has a access and who doesn't when the lakes get that low. So that was kind of unique and an enjoyable day out there. And then the budget update. So this is this is our budget update. So this year we've included an additional $15,000 for the IVAMP update. But this is we should be within budget for all our activities that we want to do this year, and potentially have a little bit left over at the end. So that's a good thing.
So Dave, this is all funded by fees that are collected from the residents there, correct?
Correct. Yeah, there's 109 residents that are billed in varying different. There's a tiered system that we have for billing, depending on if you're lakefront or if you have a view or access or whatnot. So yeah, it's all funded through their own assessments that they do.
They agreed to. That's pretty cool. Yeah, pretty unique, pretty awesome.
Yep. I will say too, the staff report, there was an error. I found that the professional services indicated there was 29,500, but I think that was a typo. That it's going to be 39,500 for professional services. So just a minor editing thing that we've got there. So, but still within available funds. So a staff recommendation here is to place the BLMD budget and work plan for 2026 on the May 5th, 2026 city consent calendar for recommendation to approve.
David, I have a question.
Sure.
So, Barnes Lake, is that a man-made lake?
No, it's not actually. There was some. It's mainly influenced by stormwater runoff, and there's varying stories about the way it was created. I've heard some folks say that there was a railroad at the south end of it that kind of impounded some water, or some beaver activity enhanced that impoundment. But it isn't a man-made lake. It's only about 12 feet deep at the deepest spot, so it's fairly shallow too. So. But yeah, as far as I know, it is a natural occurring lake. And
we do have beaver activity, like you said, out there, right?
Yeah, there are several beaver dens, lots of beaver activity. Folks out there on the waterfront have to protect their trees and whatnot with cages and things so the beavers don't chew them down. But yeah, lots of beavers in this area.
Okay. Any other questions and comments? Okay, so we have a recommended action to place the Barnes Lake Management District 2026 budget and work plan on the May 5th, 2026 City Council consent calendar with a recommendation to approve.
So moved.
And I second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the motion passes. Next is to discuss resolution number R2026-005, receipt authority for the water quality combined financial assistance agreement with the Department of Ecology for the Trosper Sewer Extension Project. Again, Water Resources and Sustainability Department. Is that you again, David?
Nope, that's me. That's me.
David gets a break. Thanks, Ty.
Yep, for sure.
Go ahead. You got it.
So, continuing in the theme of water quality and getting money from ecology, today we have a presentation on the Trosper Road Sewer Extension Project, specifically seeking a recommendation from the committee here to place the authority to accept that loan on the consent calendar for the next meeting. Just to orient you guys on where the project is, hopefully you know where Trosper Road is. Currently, the sewer extends west along Trosper to Lambskin and then heads north to service the Trosper Ridge community. And the proposed project will extend sewer west along Trosper Road. Primary driver for the project is water quality enhancement. Percival Creek, for which the Trosper drainage area is a tributary, has been identified as a hot spot for fecal coliform as well as total nitrogen. And that was identified and documented in the total maximum daily load assessments, both for the Deschutes River, Percival Creek, and Black Lake ditch completed in 2018, as well as the Bud Inlet TMDL in 2022. And this also provides an opportunity for a case study in the development of the city's specific septic to sewer program and help develop those policies. And then we'll be sharing that with the council as we progress on that. But this particular project actually provides sewer to approximately 32 parcels along there. So this particular portion implements an identified expansion of the sewer system that was included in the general sewer plan. It was also identified in the urban septic assessment report, which was a collaborative exercise with county, lot, and the three jurisdictions, Lacey, Olympia, and Tumwater, that was evaluating regional impacts from septic systems. And so actually the lambskin area was identified as a case study in that report. And so we'll be looking to, add that along. Lambskin, or the Beehive industrial area, was abandoned in the 80s and 90s, and without sewer available, they had septic systems as well as sewage holding tanks, and there have been some documented issues with those. I will add too that the city has secured and is negotiating with Grant Osborne, an engineering firm, to complete the design. And as part of the initial effort, we'll be revisiting some of those assumptions in the general sewer plan to ensure that any proposed project is in alignment with longer range planning for sewage coverage in the area. We also have Corollo Engineering under contract to update the overall general sewer plan, and those two activities will be closely coordinated. As far as funding, we were successful in securing a low interest loan through the Water Quality State Revolving Fund administered by the Department of Ecology. They actually had in 2025 155 projects. We were ranked 32nd in all of those. And the loan amount for the project is $5.25 million at an interest rate of 2.7 with a term of 30 years. We hope to complete the design by the end of 2026 with construction hopefully wrapping up in the first early quarter of 2028. And so with that, we were requesting the committee to recommend placing resolution R202605 onto the consent calendar for consideration by the council. Any questions?
Yes, Kyle.
Angela.
Just for my knowledge. So now we're extending the sewer, right? The sewer line. That means that no one is using the sewer for now. So this is just for new buildings going up, new homes going up.
So the sewer line will provide the availability for existing residents and businesses that are along the pathway to connect up to the system. I'd say as a side note, we're also looking to update our sewer code that addresses when a resident or a business, this is septic system fails, the requirements that they must connect up to the system. But it also does provide the ability for future growth to accommodate that as people and businesses move into the area and develop, so that the sewer will be available.
Okay, so a lot of them are on septic now.
Correct, in that the Beehive area, as well as other residents along Trosper Road, are currently all on septics.
All right, excellent. Now, do the majority of them want this? Or are they happy with their septic? Does that matter?
I would imagine that if their septic is working properly, that they would probably prefer to stay on their septic system. However, if their septic failed and they were opposed with having to replace that, I would imagine that they would be very grateful that the sewer system was available for them to.
All right, thanks, Tal. This was just for my education.
Sure, absolutely. Yep.
Thank you.
Kyle, can you put the map back up again, please?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so So we've had issues with we have had code enforcement issues, correct? With
Correct.
we're in Joppa, is that what we've had problems with? Is that what we're looking at?
Part of that is making sewer available to the, yep. Yep, I think
Okay.
that there have been
So,
documented.
and again, we can't compel them to hook up. Is it residential behind when you go down Lamb Street? Is that all? Are those all single family homes that are behind on the closest to the fort? Is that all single family?
Those are all single family and they are currently connected to the sewer system.
Oh, okay, so they're already connected. Okay, so so anybody in the front part then? So all the industrial part, they're all on septic?
Or sewage hold.
What about the
holding-
buildings, like right where your cursor is? Are those all on sewer or are they on septic?
I'm not exactly sure. Maybe Dan has some insight on that.
Yeah, so along that existing line on Lambskin, I think there might be one or two that have converted over when that line went in. But as Kyle said, when their systems fail, if sewer's not available, then the county would, allow them to just replace the system. And, really, when in an urban area, urban density, we really want folks to be, utilizing the public utilities and the services, we can provide because it protects the groundwater to a higher level. And so as with this project, we would also be trying to extend up Joppa Lane there. And so we're capturing some of the businesses there because most of those, because of the groundwater table and the geology underneath those sites, a lot of those are on tanks. And so they have to be pumped regularly. They're not even really being treated to any kind of level other than what they get pumped out of there. And so this is a complex project. And it's one of the reasons why, we haven't seen developers, extend this down. And so this is really a great opportunity for us to, kind of, act as kind of a developer in a sense, to move this, to get this line across some of the more challenging areas. And as systems, because we do have, we anticipate a number of those systems are aging and are, probably, within so many years of failure that we want to make sure that we have services available for folks that they can convert. And that, as Tal mentioned earlier, part of that kind of incentive package, right now we offer kind of early adopters, so to speak, for conversions. We have discounts to, some of the permitting costs, for that conversion. And so we'd be looking at, providing similar opportunities for properties that are existing here for those conversions, as well as looking at some of our other policies around connections and how do we continue to fund a program, as we look at extending sewer to areas that are already developed within, around the city. Similar to what we've done with Velcoman Mobile Home Park recently, and it's kind of extending down into that in the same program areas. But there'll be a package of policy considerations for council as we get there.
Well, I'm a big one for, septic to sewer conversion. I really support this. And I was just looking at, so will we be running a line up Joppa then? We're not running a line up Joppa. We're just going to be running it down 54th, correct?
No, we anticipate running a kind of a spur off of this, and whether it connects into the lambskin, or not, that'll be determined through the engineering as we get the engineering firm on board. We start working on the project, but the intention is to go up Joppa as well, so we can provide some of that service there as well.
Because isn't that, again, going back, isn't that an issue that we have with code enforcement? Is that the area that we've had issue with?
There are issues up in there, and really going back as far as 2012, if I remember correctly, one of the corner properties there, and for a small property owner, really to extend sewer, it's not financially feasible, so this is a great opportunity so we can start addressing some of those other code enforcement issues as well as just the existing septic densities that are out there.
Okay. I just remember when we had the opportunity on Pioneer Street and just, we were, gave them the ability to connect. And sometimes, it's just, even when you give them a carrot, they won't do it. But I want to be positive about this, but I really appreciate the fact that we have a loan. So have we had I guess this is a Troy question. Have we ever had a loan like this before? I don't remember. Have we done loans like this?
Not for this type of work, but we have had, loans for other various projects that we've done in the sewer utility as well as in the drinking water utilities. But if memory serves me correctly, we paid the last one out in 2015, and so we've been operating without, debt, which is
okay. That's what I thought. Usually we pay for our own stuff. Okay.
Yeah, but this is also something that's
not only good. I just was wondering, this is a different vehicle.
Yeah. This will also serve new development that comes on. And so, by extending the payment for the work, out 30 years, that helps that, the paradigm of growth paying for growth.
Right. Exactly. It was just a new vehicle because typically, I don't remember us doing a loan before. Usually, this is an awesome opportunity. So to be able to get this. So, all right. Okay. I think those are the questions that I had. So this is really good.
All right.
Okay, outstanding. With that, we have a recommended action to place resolution number R 2026-005, receipt authority for the water quality combined financial assistance agreement with the Department of Ecology for the Trosper Sewer Extension Project on the May 5th, 2026 City Council consent calendar with a recommendation to adopt.
So moved.
And I second. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And the motion passes. Are there any additional and future items to discuss? I do have one. I would like for some feedback on the Arbor Day activities. How did everything go? Total number of attendees, total number of giveaways, work done, etc.
I will have to get back to you on that. That would be a great question for Alyssa. She and Brian, you kind of spearheaded some of those activities, as well as Chuck in our Parks Department. So let me get with her. I was actually out of town at a conference, and and maybe Kelly's got some info for you.
I just wanted to volunteer to work with Dan and Alyssa and the team and put some information in the Friday city administrator's message.
Right. And some feedback to the community. That's a positive thing. And I also just want to highlight the work that we are doing. That's a part of that also. So those are our additional items. And
which school won the volunteer? Which school won providing the most volunteers?
Yeah, those are great questions. Anecdotally, Alyssa was just telling me yesterday that everything was fantastic and the day was wonderful. But those details, I'll get back to you on. And like Kelly said, we'll get that into the council update for Friday.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anything else? Okay, everyone, have a great day. And with that said, the meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
I just gavelled.